We're back. Welcome back to Una Faccia, Una Razza. My name is
Woo!
Chris. That's Nick. Nick, how are you, dude?
I'm doing well. It's been a long time since we've met in this forum.
It's been a long time. It's been many, many months. We took a extended hiatus, so thank you to all of our listeners, however many of you are out there, for your patience. Um, yeah,
Shout out
we
Cleaver. I think, in our 2 test episodes, he was the most passionate, most enthusiastic. He at one point hit me up saying, "When's episode 2 coming or 3?" I mean, we started with 0, so it's a little confusing.
This is 2. Yeah, we're on 2 now. 0 was sort of like a test run, our pilot program, if you will, and then we came out with the first episode around May, June of last year, and so this is now officially episode 2. So thank you, Cleaver. Really appreciate you. I think I have some couple family members who were fans, but more casual followers. I think some people I talked to were intimidated by the length, which I
Oh,
thought was interesting because so there's so many long form podcasts, like the biggest podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. His episodes run like 3 hours long typically. But I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that says more about like my circle as opposed to people
I don't
who
think we're good
listen to
enough
Joe
at
Rogan.
this to warrant that much time from.
We should know if they were doing a 3 hour podcast, there's something wrong. We wouldn't have any listeners, I think, at that point. But I think that was interesting. But yeah, we're back, and we will be doing this more frequently. I think we're kind of doing it.
I did the thing. Anyway, sorry.
He said he wasn't going to use any sound effects. I told him that he should use sound effects. That was wonderful. Thank you. Keep them coming throughout the episode. Also, I told myself before, after we recorded episode 1, before we record our next episode, I told myself I would get a cord because I have nicer headphones than these, but I don't have the right cord to plug them into this microphone. So if you see me going like this a lot, it's because these little earbuds that I think I got from like my orthodontist's office are falling out of my ears. So yeah, I have like I don't remember why. I think they just gave these to me so I could like listen to music or something. Or it was my periodontist when I had like a gum
Oh,
graft done. They gave these to me and they just said, "Yeah, sure, you can keep them." I mean, when
dude,
you
I've always hated headphones like that. They never. I think I have small ears, but I think a lot of people say that. I think those kind of headphones just suck. But I remember the OG ones that used to come with every Apple product.
yes,
Like they never worked for my ears. It was like I couldn't do anything to get them to stay, and it was awful. But
that
AirPods work well for me, and
that
that's with like the default size. Not I didn't have to like size down or anything.
It's very interesting because I feel like I had the opposite experience where like those OG like Apple Buds were the only ones that would stay in my ear consistently, and now ever since then, ever since they moved away from those, I'm always like
Oh,
struggling with these falling out. The shape has changed too, and the same with the AirPods. Like the newer generation AirPods are always falling out of my ears. I had to get these like
oh,
little like extension things that I can like wrap around my ear and then like plug it into.
interesting.
But yeah, anyway, so I digress. We thought we would just start the episode by catching whoever's listening up on probably the topic we were most closely following
Back
last
to our
time
roots,
around,
baby.
to our roots, our una facha una razza roots, and that is talking about the Kendrick Drake beef, which is over. By the way, I'll just start there. Like the beef, I think is over. I think it really ended when I believe it was Cinco de Mayo weekend when Kendrick Lamar released "Not Like Us," and then Drake responded with his extremely lackluster song "The Heart Part 5," no 6, excuse me, "The Heart Part 6," and then we talked about that in the last episode. Since then, Kendrick went on to do his pop out, his friend's concert in LA, where he brought out like Tyler the Creator, DJ Mustard, all these LA stars. That was essentially like the victory lap. And then he
Sports
released
stars played not like us. Like what was it? Seven
six.
times?
I think
Six?
it was at least I think 6 times. One time he had the crowd singing, but he was going for like that 6 times. That being another reference to Drake, being the sixth god and
Oh
whatnot. What's actually really funny about the beef? I don't know. Have you any chance looked up the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef on Wikipedia?
no, I
So
think we brought it up in the OG in the episode 0, but I haven't looked at it since.
So it's really funny because if you look at it now, it's essentially it's stylized in the way that Wikipedia might describe like a war, like a legitimate war
Oh,
between two nations, because you have like Kendrick Lamar's picture and Drake's picture, and you have like underneath it's like, oh, like who was on each person's side. So like under Drake's side you have like J. Cole, and it's like from like for a very brief moment, and then under on Kendrick's side you have like Metro Boomin as like one of his allies, and they talk about like the length of the beef. It's just it's funny. Just it looks like what I would stood when we were studying wars in like middle and high school and looking at the wars on Wikipedia. It was very reminiscent of that
I
style.
think it might have been like that in when we were first doing this whole summary, but I'm imagine it's much longer now because what they're you brought up the pop out, was
The
that what
pop
it was
out
called?
concert, yeah, that was in
And
June,
then
and then that
was
was
the
followed.
lawsuit next?
The lawsuit was next, yes, and then there was Kendrick Lamar. His album GNX came out in November, which wasn't really. I mean, it didn't really. It had a couple references to the beef, but it was at this point that was sort of really like Victory Lap Part Two, and that was really
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar. That was his love letter to LA and the different styles and different cultures there, and just sort of reflecting on his career. And that was a phenomenal album, by the way. Drake has put out an album uh, since Not Like Us. We should mention it was called Sexy Songs for You. It was technically a collab album with Party Next Door, who is an R&B singer that's signed to Drake's OVO label. It was a long album. It was like I want to say close to 30 tracks. He did have some references to the beef in his on a few different songs. I think one reference is like he talks about like Kendrick Lamar, making people like twerk to the dictionary or something like that. It's just like a couple like silly like subliminal, like Drake, very Drake lines referencing the beef. But he doesn't go so far as to like outright diss Kendrick. And I think
That's like out of the MGK Eminem playbook, like dissing him for the whole dictionary thing. Anyways, go on.
you're right. I didn't even think about that. You're right. That is. Oh, like someone. Or then he had the line earlier in the beef too about like, oh, Kendrick opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. And then ironically, Kendrick went on to win. I think was it 5 Grammys for Not Like Us. So, but basically, I feel like short of Drake, uh, coming out with a really strong attack against Kendrick, I do feel like the beef is pretty much over, or at least it's dormant for now. I think it is in everyone's best interest to kind of move on from this and let it breathe for a while. I definitely don't think Kendrick is going to go out of his way to attack Drake at this point, because at this point, like, why would Kendrick do that? Like, Kendrick has so clearly won. This was one of the most definitive victories in all of rap music. Not Like Us will probably go down as one of, if not the greatest diss songs of all time in hip hop, just for how it was, well, literally got played at the Super Bowl. And now it's like it's in commercials. It's being played like at. I saw there was a video the other day of like the Atlanta Hawks mascot like dancing to it, recreating the Super Bowl performance during a break when the Hawks were playing the Warriors the other day. So it's just like that song is just like so baked into our culture now. Like I can't think of
Jeez,
another
yeah.
diss song that has sort of made that kind of impact. So, I mean, Kendrick, he won so clearly that I don't think at this point it would benefit him to revisit that unless he is provoked. So I kind of feel like that's where we are with the beef. As far as like looking ahead, I do think it will be interesting to see what the discourse is like around Kendrick when his new movie comes out. He's working with the South Park guys, Trey Stone and Matt Parker. They have this
I'm so
comedy
stoked for
coming.
that.
I'm so stoked. I think that's gonna be. I think the potential for that is sky high. The plot, I guess the plot has changed because originally it was supposedly about this guy dating this black guy dating this white girl, and then he finds out that his ancestors were owned by her ancestors. So like his ancestors were slaves, and then her ancestors were the slave masters. Supposedly that's changed slightly, but it will still
Mm.
involve slavery in some context. The movie also comes out, I believe, July 4th, or at least July 4th weekend, so that should be very interesting. And there will supposedly be original music attached to it
Oh,
by Kendrick, yeah, and maybe some others. So I expect Kendrick to stay pretty quiet until then. Um, and then,
well, I
we'll see.
love when like unlikely combos come together, and that definitely falls into that category. And you touched on the Grammys, obviously the Super Bowl performance. Um, there was, I think, Kendrick had some performance at some fashion show that was also part of that. that victory lap kind of. But and then I think the most recent news is this whole Playboy Cardi album. Did you want to talk about that at all? The controversy, I guess.
It's a little controversial. I mean, it's an internet controversy. I don't whoa, controversy. That was
There you go.
weird. I don't think I've ever done that before. Controversy. Anyways, yeah. I don't know how real this is, like in the real world, if people are talking about this, but online it did create a little buzz. So Kendrick Lamar was featured on the new Playboy Cardi album that came out very recently. I guess, I mean, Playboy Cardi is pretty big. I'm not a fan of his music, and I will admit I'm a big fan of Kendrick's music. But
Seems like everyone and their mom was featured on that album too, from what I've heard.
well, it
So
had
it
30
wasn't just
songs.
him.
It had
Yeah.
30 songs, so that's a lot of songs. It's a lot of time to fill. And Kendrick Lamar was on there multiple times. He had 3 features on there. Travis Scott was on there a bunch. The Weeknd was on there. Future was on there. The usual suspects, I feel like, for rap features nowadays. And some people took issue with Kendrick's presence on the album. And then there's one point on the Cardi album where Kendrick refers to himself as Playboy Cardi's evil twin. And now the issue that people have is that Playboy Cardi is there are some legitimate concerns about his character and his morality because there are very credible allegations of him choking a pregnant partner of his. Iggy Azalea, the rapper, has gone on record multiple times calling Playboy Cardi a deadbeat dad. Basically, not he is not a figure in this. They had a son together, Playboy Cardi and Iggy Azalea, and Cardi basically, according to Iggy, is not a factor in his son's life at all. Which I mean, in a vacuum, like that's none. I mean, none of that is great. But the fact that Kendrick Lamar is choosing to work with somebody like Cardi after previously going at Drake so hard over him, being a deadbeat dad and allegedly having this daughter that he's hiding, a second child that he's hiding, and calling him out for, working with these supposed pedophiles and, basically calling out all of OVO as this weird like sex ring and saying that Drake and Weinstein should be in the same jail cell and like comparing him to Diddy. Like those are all very like grandiose attacks against Drake's moral character. So then to turn around and work with Playboy Cardi in that way and be in not just have one feature, but have 3 features. That is, I think for Kendrick to have 3 features in like a non-label mates album is almost, if not entirely unheard of. It comes across as very hypocritical. I think it's a little hypocritical of him. And, you can argue that, like it's just music or, don't take it that seriously. Well, I mean, but Kendrick was the one taking it that seriously in the beef. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it hurts Kendrick in the long run. I do think people will forget about it, but it was sort of like the first sign that, maybe, some of Kendrick's attacks on Drake's morality were just attacks for the beef and maybe were not actual values that he held true to his character.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I on one hand kind of want to not care about it, but on the other hand don't really have the ammo to defend Kendrick. Like I totally see your point, but if I'm honest with myself, like it doesn't really affect my feelings about the beef, the outcome of the beef, my opinions on Kendrick moving forward. But I feel a little bit guilty about that. Like I should have more of a justification for why it doesn't matter to me. I talked to my buddy.
So no, go ahead.
I talked to my buddy Ian, who I brought up in episode 0, who's the guy who got me into Kendrick, and he was like also kind of like, I don't even think he knew about it. And then when I brought it up, he was like, "Yeah, I don't really care. Like it's not surprising to me that Kendrick would work with questionable people, and it doesn't really to me." Anyways, I kind of on the same page as him. Is like I logically think that it undermines his argument during the beef, or some of his arguments, or some of his points, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
to to talk about it in like debate terms, but I ultimately like I don't find myself like feeling too negatively about it.
I love debate terms. And I mean, like it happened before, right? With his Kendrick's 2022 album, Mr. Morale, he worked with Kodak Black, who had a history of sexual assault allegations, some of them very heinous, but at least in that instance, Kendrick was sort of using Kodak's history as a way to make a point about himself, about Kendrick, and about him not being your savior. So a lot of people have kind of come back and tried to use that. Oh, well, Kendrick, he already said like he's not your savior Like, you shouldn't expect him to be perfect. Well, I mean, okay, he doesn't. We're not expecting him to be our savior, but that doesn't mean that he's immune from criticism. I do think it is. I don't think it will have an impact on a lot of Kendrick listeners. Like, I'm not going to stop listening to Kendrick because of it, but it's just kind of like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, Kendrick, I
Yeah.
appreciated that you weren't just winning musically, you were also kind of winning morally, and you made that,
Right.
I think a lot of people were kind of happy just to see Drake take down a peg. Drake, who does, by the way, have some, I don't know how, I mean, it's a lot of smoke around Drake. I'll just say that. I don't want to get too deep into like the Millie Bobby Brown stuff or what's gone on with Drake in his career, but there's been some smoke there. So I think people were kind of at least content to see that brought up and that
Mm-hmm.
addressed. But at the end of the day, you're still gonna have someone like Conan O'Brien at the Oscars making a joke about Kendrick call Drake a pedophile.
Yeah.
Just to kind of bring it back full circle, like that's where we are now in that whole segment. Big Oscars fan, by the way. We should talk about that a little bit, only because I know
Yeah.
you are a huge cinephile. You saw most, if not all, of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture. Don't
I'm
do
a
that.
wannabe.
Don't shrug. No,
I'm a
you are.
wannabe film bro, I guess is the term
Compared to
people
me,
use.
I bestow that title upon you as someone who is not. You seen any new movies lately? Are you still writing any? You still writing any like post Oscar buzz? I know we're a little removed from the ceremony, but it was a really good Oscar show. I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about the Oscars for the what I've seen lately. Um, top three movies this year. I saw Black Bag over the weekend with my wife, and I loved it. Definitely my favorite movie of the year. It is. It has Fat Michael Fassbender,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, the guy who did like the Ocean's movies, and it's kind of that like whodunit, not a heist movie in this case, but like a spy kind of Bond MI6 vibes. Loved that. You and I saw Mickey 17 together.
We did.
I liked it more than you did. Um, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I feel like the more time I didn't dislike it, but I definitely like the more time I spend removed from that movie, the less I like it.
Oh,
For a few, I think for me, my biggest issue is that it felt like it was two movies. It felt like it was one movie, and then without getting too deep into spoilers, basically like it goes from like a movie about this cloning, like this cloning procedure that they have, and then it went to a movie about worms. And I felt like there's like, and there's like a certain point where you feel like it flips, and like the worms that are like they're outside the ship because they're on this like side. It's like a science fiction satire, I guess, and they're on this ice planet. And there are these worms that are outside, and then once the worms come inside, I just felt like the whole movie changed, and I didn't like the second half as much, but I really liked
mm,
the first half. I thought Robert Pattinson was amazing. I thought she truly is like one of our
yeah.
best actors
Yep.
working right now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a newfound Robert Pattinson fan. And then movie I'm going to recommend to you that I guess is my second favorite movie of the year so far is called Companion. I don't want to give much information about it, and I want you should definitely go see it, but don't watch any trailers, don't read any synopsis, just go in blind, and I think you'll enjoy it a lot. It's a fun movie.
Something about a sex doll, right? Is there like a sex doll plot to it in part?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and you might already know. Yeah, yeah,
All
you
right. I
might
won't say
already
anymore.
know. Yeah. Well, if you know it, you know it. Doesn't matter what you say. But I went into it not knowing. My wife and I, we've been doing like a secret movie series where we pay $5 and we get to see movies before they're released, which is kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, that's
Only
sweet.
bad part is they're on Mondays, which isn't ideal. But we've
Is
seen a lot of cool movies that way.
Where does that happen?
Del Monte. It's a Cinemark
Really?
thing. I
Hmm.
think AMC also has their own version of it. Around here, it's the Cinemark at Del Monte in Monterey. We saw Gladiator 2 that way, which was kind of like you. I was thinking they would just be like no name movies that I would have never heard of, but we've seen
Right.
some like big name movies that way, and it's like we get a discount, we see it early. What's not to love?
Yeah, that's cool, man. Are you like a Cinemark like pro member? They have those like
Yeah,
we saw when we saw Mickey 17, they had the ad for where it was like free, like or what free less you pay less for concessions. You don't pay like
yep,
online fees or something like that.
yep, yeah. You get a few different discounts and then access to different things. Like I think the secret movie night, you might have to be a member. And then last year, I was desperately trying reach diamond status. I
Hmm.
think we had to see like 50 movies, or we had to go to the movies 50 times, and we
Wow.
missed out on it by like 4 movies. And like straight up the last week of the year, it was like I was still trying, and I was like, "Babe, I'm gonna see Nosferatu by myself on Christmas Day. We need to see the Bob Dylan movie like this day." It was like it was like 5 days left in the year, and I needed to see 4 movies, and it didn't end up happening. And then somehow, I don't know if they changed the requirements, but somehow this year we're already halfway there, which
Oh,
is
snap.
doesn't make sense.
Hmm. Well, I mean,
Um,
50 movies is aggressive because you figure there are 52 weeks in the year. So you're basically you're seeing a movie a week and then sprinkle a few more in there somewhere.
yeah, and I
So
don't. Maybe what's changed is last year. Maybe they didn't count if we got 2 tickets. It counted as one visit to the movies, and maybe this year it's counting as two or something. They changed like that.
uh,
It doesn't make sense. But yeah, we're members. Gave you my top 3 movies of the year. Last year, I think the movie that really made noise at the Oscars was Anora, and I
mhm.
think, well, Dune from episode one, Dune 2 was my favorite movie so far into that year, and it stayed at the top of my list. But a close second was Anora, and I know you saw it recently.
I
What are your
did.
thoughts?
I saw it after it won, after it swept the Oscars. Essentially, it
Right,
won. I think 5 of the 6 it was nominated for. The big ones like director, best actress,
editing.
editing,
He
and
did his
then
own editing. The
editing, and then
director.
screen. Was it screenplay? Maybe
Yeah, I think
original
so.
screenplay. I think
Yeah.
so. But anyway, so I saw it. So my local theater. I don't have any Cinemarks close to me. There's a couple. Like there's AMC's. I think is like the biggest theater chain around here in the Bay. But I do have like a local theater that's independent. And
Nice.
what it does is it will essentially play the best picture winner in theaters for a few weeks. This is how I saw Oppenheimer last year,
Oppenheimer, yeah.
after it won. So I did the same thing with Honora. I saw it after it won. It was a bit different experience for me because I wasn't going in blind, and I had watched the Oscar ceremony, so I had seen some clips, so I was like kind of waiting for certain moments to show up.
Hmm.
But overall, I thought it was an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I thought Mikey Madison absolutely killed it. I should note that before the Oscars, the only movie I had really seen was The Substance. That was really up for any major awards.
Hmm.
I still haven't seen Dune. But I was really pulling for Demi Moore to win Best Actress. I was like all on board the Demi train.
Right.
There was a lot of hype behind her because she had won most of the awards. But Mikey, as we all know, won Best Actress. And after now having seen Honora, I can certainly say that she was very deserving. That was like an incredible star making performance by her. I'm very curious to see what she does next. She just totally just went for it,
Yeah.
and I was very impressed with her. Very impressed with all the acting. Really, I have not seen. I believe it's A Real Pain, the movie that Kieran
Oh,
Culkin won for Best Supporting Actor. But
yep.
the Russian actor whose name escapes me was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I'm now sad he didn't win because I felt like he was amazing in that movie too. Like
Yeah.
he really like I was expecting him to come in and be good because the way that the movie plays out, like he is not present for the first 45-ish minutes. So I was kind of like waiting for him to show up, and then when he did show up, I was like, oh, interesting. Like how is the story going to go that he becomes like relevant enough to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor? So I was kind of
Yeah.
looking at it from that lens.
Uh,
But then he ended up blowing me away. The last thing I'll say about Honor in the movie is that I don't know if I would have noticed this as much had I seen it before the Oscars, but watching it after Sean Baker won Best Editing, I like totally had
yeah.
like a
Focusing
newfound
on that.
appreciation for how it was edited because like the first 45 minutes or so, like the first act essentially, when she's like, she's a sex worker, she's meeting all these people, and then she meets this guy, and they have this crazy fling. They go to Vegas, he proposes to her, and then she's like, everything's happening so fast, it almost feels like a montage. And then the moment that
Yeah.
reality comes crashing down, you have these like quick takes and all these different scenes shot and everything. With the energy was so frenetic, but then once reality sinks in, you have these long drawn out scenes that just never seem to end, and they just go, and you're just following
Yeah.
these characters on this journey, and it's like we covered in the first act. I'm not even sure how long. I know he bought her time for like at least a week, but we covered like more than a week, like a week and a half, like week plus in like that first act. The second and third act is like the span of like what, a day, 2 days, just the process of what happens after their marriage essentially comes crashing down. So I thought that was a really like it was very well told in that way. So I gained a newfound respect for the editing process as well. I don't know if that's something that I am like actively paying attention to when watching movies. But
I'll try and edit this pod as well as Honora was edited.
edit out and edit some of
Let me
my
see.
rambling.
Let me see him, dude. Let me see him. Um,
Oh no, that is not no, that is not happening.
I guess I have to.
Maybe on an after dark episode of this. But yeah, no, great movie. I was really happy that I saw it. I'm grateful that my local theater gets to puts it on the big screen so I can watch it how it's meant to be watched. And I'm not just like
Well, that was part of his speech was, we gotta make movies, put them in the theaters. So, we should all support our theaters, especially good if it's a local theater like you did, not like me going to Cinemark. By the way, I'm just a heads up. I'm thinking of my birthday renting out a theater. I don't know if it's going to be a Cinemark in Marina or the Lighthouse in PG. I got to call them and figure out the details, but block off your weekend, April 27th, so you can come.
It will be available that weekend. Are you're serious?
Yeah, everyone's treating me like it's a crazy idea, but
I just want to make sure. Well, because when we went to the movie theater in Marina, they had like that birthday room that was right there. And
yes,
you had mentioned
know,
it,
yeah.
But I was like, I wasn't, because that was like it was all decorated for like a kid's birthday party, and there was like cake everywhere. I think they were like cleaning it up, but I was like, I wasn't sure. I was like, he's not serious. Is he serious?
Seemed great, dude. What do you? I'm stoked. That's the kind of one of the selling points for that theater in Marina is that they have that room. I don't think Lighthouse has anything like that, but I think one of the advantages of Lighthouse is I might be able to like bring in my own Blu-ray, pick the movie, whereas at Cinemark it seems like they have like a list you have to pick from. So anyways, it's on me to figure it out, and there's a chance
that's kind of cool, man. Actually, I'm impressed and happy that Lighthouse Cinema is still alive.
They went under at some point and then came back, kind of like Osio, which is unfortunately not around anymore.
Yeah, R.I.P.
But yeah, man, Honora was great. I loved it. This is our third podcast, and it is now going to be the second podcast where I talk about going to the movies and having edibles and being worried about shitting myself. But Honora has one of the funniest scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time. And yeah, my wife was having like a laugh attack, and I was also laughing really hard. But I was like, it was.
Wait, which scene?
She's like on the couch and she's like being violent, and Armenian dude is like, "No, man, like."
Like don't let her out.
Don't do it, man. And then they're like they put like they gag her with something, like they put her scarf or some kind of blanket in her mouth or something. and then I think the priest comes in. He's like, "What are you guys doing? This is a shit show." And the priest was a great character. The Armenian dude was a great character. The Russian guy you mentioned was obviously a great character. So yeah, Honora was like, it was really well rounded because it had important themes, it had great acting, it had, it was funny, it was like fun. That first act was like a party movie, like almost like it's not like this movie at all, but it has that kind of like Hangover like vibes of, like people are just being belligerent and having
chaotic
fun.
energy. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
Exactly. Is there anything else you want to touch on with the Oscars or movies?
Conan O'Brien did great, and he's already coming back for next year. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, they announced that within the past week or two, I want to say, which was smart. They recognized, they had essentially struck gold because he struck the right tone. He was mostly apolitical with one exception. He had just a lot of like nice, like clever bits. And I don't know if like his writing team also like wrote jokes for other like presenters throughout the ceremony, but I felt like a lot of the like skits were spot on. Like the Adam Sandler, Timothy Chalamet
Oh,
interaction, like that was obviously Conan, but that was amazing. Like that
that
was so well
callback was
done.
great to the
The
Golden Globes or whatever.
yeah, I know. Shout out the Golden Globes too. That's actually big for them. Nikki Glazer,
Yeah.
she's doing very well. Like the Ben Stiller bit introducing like production design, like that was really good. The bits like the sandworm from Dune, like that was really funny. It just had a lot of good moments. It was a good ceremony. It was long. It was which ended up causing some controversy when people watching on Hulu were essentially like shut out of the
Oh,
stream.
I heard they had a bunch of technical
They
difficulties. Also at the
did,
beginning, I think.
yeah, like started late, or like they or started late, or they couldn't
I
get in
don't
on
know.
time, and then it because they had only basically allotted like a 3.5 hour time limit, and then so once they hit 3.5 hours, like all the Hulu viewers were kicked out, but they hadn't even announced Best Actress yet or Best Picture, so
It's some
that was
kind of
not great.
metaphor for streaming being bad and the theme of the Oscars. I don't know.
I like that. I like where you're going with this.
And
But
then yeah,
yeah,
it went long because of the Adrian Brody speech,
oh
which
my
some
god, that speech
people.
was ridiculous. Yeah, that was the low light for sure. Like, although the jokes about comparing his speech to the Brutalist movie, which was over 3 hours, were pretty.
Have you seen it?
Hell, dude, no, I can't sit down for a 3+
There's
hour
a
movie. I'm
dude.
sorry.
There is an intermission which I think maybe should be normalized in intermissions in movies. It was
I
a
do.
15-minute. The
Okay,
timer is on the screen. It was pretty cool.
that is cool. That's different. Because that doesn't happen. Maybe when they realized how long the movie was. Do you think they made the movie? Like, I wonder at what point in the production did that come in? Was like, oh god, this movie is 3.5 hours long. Like, we need an intermission, or did they like build it into like two different acts, like a play almost, where like they knew they were
I
going to have an
think it's the
intermission?
latter. The latter.
The
Yeah,
latter.
it was
Okay.
intentional, and
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that
I
makes
didn't
me
mind
feel a
his
little
speech as
better.
much, but I can definitely understand why people were complaining about it. Um, but yeah,
I also didn't love him throwing his gum to his
that was
wife,
weird.
taking it out
Yeah,
of his mouth and like throwing it to her. She caught it. I mean, kudos to her. Like that's
some of the
that's
movie
love.
podcasts I listened to like debated what he should have done. Some people said swallow it, but then there's like, okay, that could fuck with your ability to give your speech. Another one is like, I don't know, just I don't remember what all the different options were. I don't know what he should have done. I think maybe he should have known there's a good chance he'd win and not had the
Yeah,
gum to
maybe just
begin
don't
with,
chew
or like
gum. Yeah, or just take it
had
out.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, just like put it under, like stick it under your seat when they're
just in
like
case
showing
I
the
win,
clip.
I'm gonna put it on. You know, I'm
Like
gonna hand it to my wife
yeah, like no one in
before
the
they
world.
announce it.
Dan, because you're not gonna want to. Do you think do you take the gum back? Because he doesn't like go sit down after his win. He had to go and like he take pictures and like do
Yeah.
interviews and whatnot. So how long do you think she held on to that gum for?
Uh, I haven't thought about it, but that's a good question. You're asking the important questions.
Important questions. Speaking of important questions, good segue. It's hard to segue without commercial breaks. You ever listen to a podcast and like, we're gonna take a break, and then they come back for a different topic? That's just like
Yeah.
so easy. We don't have that, but we're not gonna subject our listeners to ads, but we're gonna try and find a way.
Turn the TikTok camera on, Kyle.
I was thinking Bill Simmons, yes, the ringer. Um,
You know when they do the YouTube live streams and then they're like, "Oh, break for the podcast," and then they
and then it's
keep
like,
going. That's
and
us.
we're back. I'm trying to come up with, so this year we took a long break in 2024. I'm feeling really good about this year. It was kind of a rough couple months to start. I feel like just a very long couple months. It doesn't help that I work in news, and a lot of the news has been very heavy as of late. But yeah, I'm feeling good about the year. I'm trying to find some more opportunities for travel, and I wanted to ask you about your semi-recent travel experience coming up to my neck of the woods, San Francisco, for the NBA All-Star Weekend. So we both went to NBA All-Star Weekend on different days. I went on Saturday, and then you went on Friday.
Yep.
And we have talked amongst ourselves about this. I think it's safe to say that I maybe had a slightly little better experience than you. I
I
think.
think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be too negative about my time. I think my
Are you sure?
negative.
Are you sure you don't want to be too negative? You sure you don't want to be a hater?
Well, we went on Valentine's Day. It was a Friday, and the event we went to was like the Rising Stars thing, which had a new format. It was like 3 games and then a final, so I guess 4 games total, I believe. And because our Valentine's like early dinner, late lunch went late, and then all of the traffic in San Francisco and hotel logistic BS, just getting in, going to the hotel, and we brought our dog, which was one of our mistakes, and dropping him off and all
Oh,
that.
Bobon's not a mistake. No, no, no. You did the right thing.
I don't know what I was thinking. I was like dog friendly hotel, like it'll be fine. But then it was like a hotel. So like this, and it was lit because of the All Star thing, and it
Mm.
was like they had All Star like stuff going on in the lobby, and a lot of people who were there were clearly there for All Star. So getting Bobon through, he's a very anxious dog.
Oh shit.
Getting him to the elevator and then to the room was a stressful thing. Then we're so late. Yeah, it was. We missed the first game. We didn't get to see someone we were both excited to see, Jaime Jaquez, and then he ended up losing. So they didn't come back. Not too big a deal. I mean, I was just kind of, I guess, anxious and in a hurry because of that being late. But I like the streets in San Francisco are a common complaint I have about San Francisco. Just like they don't make sense, they're confusing and stressful. A lot of people complain about the cars and theft and stuff. Fortunately, I haven't had any issues like that, but like the parking garage was extremely claustrophobic. It's like I'm not in a big car, but getting around this parking garage is not super great. But yeah, the game was fun. The event was shorter than I would have liked, especially since we were late. It wasn't as climactic as I would have liked, but I mean, going to the actual All-Star game or the dunk contest would have been kind of prohibitively expensive. So I'm just glad I got to participate in an NBA All-Star weekend. Saw some, got pretty close to some players. Um, Another thing that has kind of tainted my experience that weekend was like it was great that I was so close, but I just narrowly missed an opportunity to get a selfie with Jalen Williams from the
Mm.
OKC Thunder and Grady Dick from the Raptors.
Mm.
And it was just kind of embarrassed. I was like a little bit too awkward to ask, but then like I kind of asked, but then I was like, yo, can I get a selfie? And it was instead of like, having confidence and
Was these like courtside seats or like how close were you?
no, it was after the event. I think the two of them didn't know the special like exit they were supposed to take, so they didn't have to deal with people. So they went through the pedestrian, the regular people exit, and then I stood out there waiting for maybe some others to make the same mistake,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Jaren Jackson Jr. I was super close to him,
Oh,
and I
that's
was
cool.
like, he needed to go down these stairs, and then he would have been forced to come out that exit. So I was like getting really excited, and then like someone pointed him towards the other way, and
Ah,
and
man.
that other exit was like super close to us too, but it was like barricaded off, and there were security guards. So I was just like had the taste of like, oh, I'm gonna get to like say what's up to an NBA player, and then didn't get it. So that was kind of like a letdown.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mourn all the Grady Dick references you were not able to make about you and Dick, or you finally got to meet Dick or anything like that. That's really tragic. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I would have done that for sure. But I, I there was maybe a chance that my wife could have grabbed a picture of me attempting to ask these guys for a selfie, and that could have been like a consolation prize. She like had the camera ready and didn't think to like, I'm gonna just take a picture
Just
of him
take it.
standing
I'm
next
just
to
gonna
these
I'm just gonna
people,
document this. We'll just see what
which would have
happens.
been cool to have. But like I didn't get too angry. I just yelled a little. No, I didn't yell at all. I was not mean to her about it. But I saw that you had a picture
I
with
did with Quentin
Quentin
Post,
Post.
yeah, Warriors
Yeah.
rookie. So it's as you were telling your story, I was reflecting on what happened for me. That was near the Moscone Center, which is also in downtown San Francisco, not close to Chase Center, really. I mean, it is, but like, you can take. It's a short Muni ride. Muni being San Francisco's public transit. Um, but there was also like there was an all star event going on inside Moscone Center, so I wonder if maybe he was a part of that. I mean, for me, I was maybe the third or fourth person to like get a picture of him. He was just like walking up the street, and there was like a few like
He's like
these two
7 feet,
girls.
right?
He's tall, man. He's tall. He is. Yeah, he's. I believe he's around 7 feet. And he's young too. He's a rookie. I mean, he was drafted like in
Yeah.
the. He was one of the. He
Kind
was
of
one
a
of the
pleasant
last picks.
surprise.
Pleasant surprise. He's been very good for them. He's kind of actually replaced, I think, Trace Jackson Davis in the Warriors
Oh,
lineup because Quentin Post can actually shoot the ball, and he's actually a decent 3-point shooter. And he
yeah.
spaces the floor a little better
Yeah.
than TJD. But Quentin Post, I mean, he was nice. He was taking pictures, but it's awkward, right? Because like they're getting bombarded. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that
Yes, that was
a-hole who
part of
was
my
like,
problem. I was
oh,
had like don't want to be that guy, but I don't want to miss this opportunity, and then
exactly.
it kind of affected my.
Exactly. So I was just like rolling with it because like, oh, these people are taking pictures, and then the person I was with got a picture, and then I was like, okay, my turn, and it was like quick, like two picks, like in and out. So didn't want to take up much of his time. So I totally get it. I don't fault you for not wanting to be that guy because it is awkward, and you don't know how they're going to handle it either. Most I feel like NBA stars are probably conditioned to be like, oh yeah, sure, smile for the pick, whatever. But you never know.
Mhm.
You might get that one who's like, fuck you, like, are we cussing on this podcast? I just cussed.
I've been
Sorry.
doing it. I've been doing
Um,
worse than cussing. I've been talking about shitting myself.
fair. But
So
you just don't know, and it's like I totally get not wanting to potentially like I don't know embarrass yourself in front of this like really famous athlete. Not that I think you would have, but I totally get that feeling. That was probably the highlight of my. Well, actually, no, that wasn't the highlight. That was a highlight of my NBA All Star experience. We did not go to any actual events. We were constantly checking Ticketmaster for prices for that
yeah,
State Farm Saturday night, where they had like the dunk contest, 3-point shooting contest, the skills challenge. Tickets. So like the day before, tickets were around like 240 a person, which like was high, but I was like, I don't know. I thought they might get cheaper as it got closer to showtime with people just
yeah.
like trying to get rid of them. We were checking like Ticketmaster, Game Time, StubHub. They went up. They kept going up,
Uh,
up, up. Like I think they finally got to around like $600 a person for the
what?
last tickets available. Yeah, and then
Crazy.
those are still the cheapest. There were some tickets that were going for like $1,000 that were closer to the court. So we didn't end up going, but we did. We took the ferry in from the East Bay and just walked around, saw like some of the pop up events. This one pop up event was really cool. It was all like NBA on TNT themed, so they had like segments based on popular segments from inside the NBA. You could like
Mm.
recreate the race to the board that Kenny Smith does. You could watch so they had certain clips on VHS. You could like actually plug in, like put headphones on and listen to them. So we
What?
picked the steam room clip where he talks about the guy who gave him his bracelet and the sauna and like were they wearing towels or not. Like I don't even know the guy's name, and it was just like it was really funny. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that experience. They had like a guessing game where like it was based off of like Charles Barkley's like who he played for game because Charles Barkley doesn't the open secret is that he doesn't actually follow the NBA, so he doesn't know who any of these players are. But they had like a game where it's like if you could guess 5 players in a row, you would win like a bucket hat or a scarf or something. And I got the bucket hat. I should have had that nearby as
Ooh,
a prop. It's somewhere. Next episode, I will wear the bucket hat at some point.
wow.
That I won. So that was pretty cool. We didn't end up getting into the going to the events, but we did have dinner in Thrive City, and there were a lot of people there just watching.
You could feel the
There's
energy
not
of
just
the excitement of the
You
weekend. It was
absolutely
also
could.
Lunar New Year
It
or
was Lunar
something
New Year,
going
yeah.
on.
Saturday was Lunar New Year parade too, so that was a crazy weekend for San Francisco. Saturday was a really busy day, and you could feel the energy, and it was nice. It was exciting. I really liked it. I really loved feeling all that. I mean, the NBA All Star Weekend, that's like a once in a blue moon event. I think the last
Yeah.
time that the All Star Weekend came to the Bay Area was in 2000, and that was Oakland. So this was San Francisco's first. I thought it showed out really well. I thought the city put on a good show for its visitors. It came out later that San Francisco police put out a statement like, "Oh, this was the safest weekend we've had in years. Crime was down this amount, and there were less of this reported and that reported." So I do think people behaved. I do also think there was the police presence out the ass helped
Hmm.
with that, but it was a good time. I share your frustration with driving in San Francisco, like that financial district area and downtown area where you were staying. and like trying to get from there to Chase Center. It's a bitch, man. Like just getting around the city when you're driving sucks. Like I was so thankful that we took public transit, so we took the ferry in, and they were taking me to get around the city. It's like cheating almost because that I feel is all very well designed. But if you're trying to drive, like especially on like a Friday night or like a busy holiday weekend, because it was Valentine's Day, and then like you said, and then Lunar New Year, and then also the All Star
Yeah,
Weekend. Like that's just crazy. That's
that
crazy.
I think the combo of not just NBA All Star Weekend but other events going on probably affected my negative opinions of how long it took us to get from point A to point B. I think the public transit system of a city has a big impact on how people will like the city. Because I mean, I
Yeah.
I think I'm not much of a city guy, but I like to go to cities,
Mm-hmm.
in spurts. And one of the reasons why I think I don't like cities is because I don't like the stress of like the getting around. So if the
Yeah.
public transit, like for example, New York, it almost couldn't be more like packed and more like busy and,
Mm-hmm.
and crowded, but the subways are like pretty overall user friendly. Have you talked about, well, you take the ferry. What else did you take?
We took the ferry to get into the city, and then when we were
Yeah.
around, we took a combination of BART and Muni. So you have BART that
Oh.
services the entire Bay Area,
Uh-huh.
and then you have Muni, which services only San Francisco. But the lines like intersect. So like when you're first getting off of the ferry, and you're at the ferry building, you're on the waterfront. There's a BART line you can take that kind of takes you. So like if like this, I'm a visual guy. I
You're
talk with my
Italian
hands.
too.
I talk with my hands. I do this. So like I'm gonna do this. If this tip of this microphone is like the waterfront,
Okay.
BART will essentially like take you this far into the city, and then it goes like down here. But if it takes you this far, you can then take Muni to go like I want to go over here, over there, do this, like Chick
Right.
Center being down here. So that's how we got around essentially. Like we took BART over here, and that's where like the All Star Alley was. Where like a couple different. That's like
Oh.
the NBA on TNT experience was there,
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple other like pop up stores and events.
That
So we
Zed
did that.
concert ended up getting canceled, or
Did
did they
it?
move it inside?
They it was not canceled, but it was moved inside. That was on
Oh.
Pier 80, which is like going back to my map. Sorry, I just tapped it. But if that was like up down here, way down here. That's like way down
Okay.
past. I had to think about that for a second. That goes down way past Chase Center. That's in, I think, yeah, Pier 80, yeah. Or was it Pier 40? There's a lot of piers. I don't know. But anyway, point being, it was outside. They moved it inside. It still worked because they have all these like, there's all these like shipyards and like industrial warehouses. A lot of them are just sitting there. So they were able to move inside pretty cleanly. They did one of the inside the NBA the post game show on Thursday. They did inside one of those
Oh,
shipyards, and
that's nice.
that is probably like the one thing I wish I had seen because I mean I love those guys and I don't know when I'll get to see if or when I'll get to see Charles, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie
Yeah.
in person. But they did do that. They also had a really nice tribute to the San Francisco firefighters that fought the wildfires in LA back in January. So that was really nicely done. Um, one more thing about All Star Weekend because now I'm thinking about it. I will say I was extremely disappointed with the production of the actual games, of the actual
Yeah.
NBA events. And you kind of touched on this with your Rising Star criticism, which I think is totally valid.
I mean, Saturday and Sunday were bad too, though.
It was all bad, man. And like
Yeah.
there's this narrative over how can the NBA save All-Star weekend? Like the players aren't into it, fans don't really seem to be into it. Like everything I'm here glowing about it as a fan enjoying the city of San Francisco, but in terms of
Yeah.
the actual product that was put on the court, not great. Not
Yeah.
great. Like the dunk contest, like there were some good dunks, but I think it's really tough when the best dunker is a G League player who doesn't actually get real NBA minutes.
Yeah.
And the 3 point shooting contest was kind of cool. Like Buddy Hield made it to the final round was like cool for all the Warriors fans there. But then the game itself, I mean, like I don't even want to get it's I don't even want to get into it because it's been over a month and
The
like
format sucked.
it
Didn't
sucked.
make any
It didn't
sense.
make any sense. I
The three
appreciate what they
point
were.
contest was okay, like you said, but they definitely missed an opportunity to like perpetuate the WNBA stuff they brought in. The not stuff, the WNBA players they brought in,
Mhm.
or player. I think it was just
It was Sabrina
it was
Ionescu against Steph Curry. last
Yeah,
year.
and so they could have like doubled down on that. That seemed like a missed opportunity. Sunday was not great. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the solution is. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, the credit for trying. Like they're trying to do something to make the players essentially care again, and that was the message from Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, and from everyone going into it. Even though some of the TNT guys like Ernie Johnson were trying to sell it up, but then like part of my issue with it was like on Sunday because you had the games where it was like first to 40 points, but then in between games you have these
oh,
long breaks, and then
yeah,
there
it
was
was
like that one
weird.
segment with like Mr. Beast. It's like they come back from commercial and like Mr. Beast is just standing there in the middle of the court, like what the hell?
You
And
mean
yes,
when I won? Like I don't remember how much money I won because you know it's just it was too long ago. But I won. You saw that guy, right? That
he
was
did.
me.
He did look like you. He did.
Yeah,
You wore similar glasses. It's
thank you.
true. Yeah,
He was very attractive.
he
I'm gonna
was.
need to. I need to get that picture. You and Quentin post. I'll put it in the pod. I'll definitely throw up a picture of me winning the Mr. Beast, whatever that
Yeah,
was. It
definitely.
was cringy though. That I don't know what he was doing there. What else was there? Was like a Bay Area music thing, which was
Oh
like
yeah, the music tribute, which was okay. I mean, Too Short's
yeah,
cool, E40's cool, Saweetie's cool. Oh god, there's the R&B singer group. Someone's gonna kill me if anyone is still listening at this point. They're like, you didn't know so and so. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
think I
buddy.
knew them either. It was a
I
group, right?
It was a group. Yeah, damn it.
Yeah.
That's gonna bother me now that I can't remember the name. That was okay, I guess. I think the most egregious part was when literally like the third game. So it was like they play like it was like Team A and it was like Team A, B, C, and Rising Stars like all played each other. So then like the final game, the third game to determine the winner, like they essentially like took a break and then they like did this whole tribute to like the TNT guys
TNT
because
in
they're
memoriam.
exactly, which was like so weird. I was like, you're doing this now, and then they took another break, and then I felt like they had like one more segment, and then they finally came back and finished the game.
Yeah.
But it's like by that
It
point,
was
like the players were
long.
over it. Like everyone was over it. That was
Yeah.
trash.
It
I'm
was
just gonna say
not
that was trash.
exciting. It was, and then they on the dunk contest night, there was another like thing that felt like an in memoriam for Vince Carter.
Oh
It's like,
yeah,
dude, this dude is alive.
he's right there.
Like,
He's standing right there. He's
why are
judging.
you going so hard on like,
Yeah,
like I don't know. You're trying to add the mystique of what the dunk contest used to be, but
I think
it
that's it.
was too much.
I think part of it may have also been it was in some ways a reunion because and I didn't realize this until recently and I was a little embarrassed I didn't realize this. The Vince Carter like the infamous or not no not infamous famous 2000 dunk contest was in Oakland. So like
Oh,
when he did
okay.
his crazy dunks that was in Oakland. So in some ways it was a
Maybe that's
homecoming.
why, but
That could be
still,
why. And then also he's now part of the TNT crew, so he's there anyway. So he's a part of the production. But I don't think that entirely justifies the length that they spent on it.
yeah.
It was egregious. Anyway, that's enough hating. I shout out public transit, like you mentioned
I,
earlier. It's make or
before we
break.
move on, I want to ask you: have you done Waymo public transit in SF? Have you done no free ads, but Waymo, if you want to advertise on this podcast, we'll accept. But have you done Waymo or one of those self-driving taxis?
I mean, they're probably scanning the internet for references too, with whatever AI tool Google has as Gemini. So they probably could find our podcast, and I would be happy to accept a sponsorship from Waymo. To answer your question, no, I have not, and I'm not opposed to it. I would be more than happy to do it. I just haven't because it was for the longest time you had to like download an app and you had to get on a
Oh,
waiting list, and it was
you're
only
too
available in
old to
San
know how to do
Francisco.
that.
I just didn't want to like for what? I mean, like for what? Like, I'll just call an Uber man. Like I know how Uber works. I know how Lyft works. I don't need to do this. They did recently open it up so that you no longer have to be on a waiting list. So if the opportunity arises, I will give it a shot. I'm more than happy to do that. It is expanding. Waymo. It's not coming to the East Bay anytime soon, but they are making their way south. They're in your old hood now of San Carlos. They're on the
Oh,
peninsula. Yeah, they're going making their way down to like Mountain View area, San Jose. They've also recently gotten the green light to start mapping SFO. So you can't take a
oh,
Waymo to SFO yet, but soon you can.
okay.
But yeah,
I
but
think
they're
they're in
cool.
like LA and Phoenix
LA and
too.
Phoenix, yeah, they've been in Phoenix for a while. Phoenix was their second test market besides the Bay Area So
Okay.
they've been in there for a while, and then LA is the third big market now. So they're expanding. They're doing really well. I will say. I mean, I give them kudos. It seems to be, the self-driving tech is developed by, it's Google's the parent company, so they're,
Right. Well, they bought them at some point or something.
um, yes, they did buy them. And they have, their Google mapping technology that has been put to good use with those cars. So those are cool. I do like the Waymos. If I get in one, I'll let you know.
All
Maybe
right.
maybe
Yeah.
that'll be a topic for the next episode. Speaking of, before we kind of wrap up here,
Yeah.
what's going on with you? Anything new and exciting in your life? You can totally say no.
Well, so okay, I think in our first two podcasts, I especially was just guilty of um talking too much about what's going on in my life. So I had this idea that we should like carve out a reoccurring segment on our pod
I like it.
for
I love it.
at the end we can do like we can come up with a better name, but for now the name I have is what's going on IRL, and keep it to like a shorter amount of time. I'll try and just say one thing that's going on in my life instead of giving you like a whole vacation rundown like I was doing
Do we have to
the
do air
first two
quotes
episodes.
every
Yeah,
time we do it?
I'm a big air quote guy in work meetings. I'm like air quoting things that shouldn't be air quoted, so that's definitely a thing I do, but it's cool.
Deal. I'm
Um,
into it.
Last time we saw each other for that Mickey 17, the big dilemma was my wife. It was like a week long ordeal where my wife accidentally had two fish oil vitamins in her pocket and then
Oh,
did laundry,
you
and then
poor
like
souls.
all of her scrubs smelled like fish, and then all of our clothes that got washed after that were smelling like fish, so we had to like figure out how to get rid of the fish smell. That was a big thing, but that's like a month ago at this point.
Did it just
um
go away over time? Like, did it just stop? It just spelled less
she
and
did a
less like fish until.
she did a bunch of stuff. I actually asked Chat GPT. I did like a clean cycle and it didn't really help, and then I asked Chat GPT like how to solve this problem, and it gave us some tips, and she followed those tips and it eventually worked. She wasn't able to remove the smell from her scrubs, which are apparently super expensive, so she had to rebuy all her scrubs, which was unfortunate.
That sucks.
But it could have worse problems. But
Yeah, it's true.
the other thing we got going on IRL was last weekend we went to Napa, had a great time, ate some good food, went to a winery. We're now members of the winery, and
Let's
so
go.
now we got
Got the
to get.
bug.
Yeah, well, I don't. I guess that. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's how they get you, right? They give you all this wine, and you're paying the great prices for it. It's like, oh well, you could have more of this. Sign up now, and then maybe you don't. Not, I'm not suggesting that you didn't realize what you were signing up for, but that is a tried and true business model for a lot of wineries.
Yep. Now we're roped into like 4 purchases a year, but at least they're not going to be like a ripoff if we were getting that amount of wine. Anyway, they also have apple cider, like like fermented alcoholic cider,
Mm.
and it's not like the kind where they pump it with CO2. It's like naturally fermented, so that's kind of
Hmm.
cool. I like that. They also claim to be the only place in the U.S. that makes balsamic vinegar, like the OG. Oh, I don't want to air quotes again. The OG Italian way, where it like goes like from a bunch of different barrels of different wood types,
Hmm.
and they don't sell that because they're doing it this like classic method. It takes a long time, and they can't produce that much. It takes like some of these barrels have been doing their thing for like 20, 30 years. But now that we're members, I guess we're going to be on the wait list to eventually, hopefully, buy some of that. When we
Interesting.
did the tour, we got to try it. It was really good.
It was like legitimately
Um,
like this is fire.
yeah, no, it
Huh.
was good. I like balsamic vinegar a lot. And then we also have access to like rent some 3-bedroom house on the winery. So that's a nice little perk. I was
Oh,
thinking
that's cool.
could be a fun gathering place for an EO weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've talked about the goal this year, because we don't have any Red Rocks trips planned as of yet, but we've talked about camping. But I think a house would be a suitable alternate to camping. So that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That sounds like fun. I'm glad you had a good weekend.
Yeah, we the wine was good. Ate some really good food. We went to one of the Thomas Keller restaurants, not the French Laundry, but
Bummer.
Ad Hoc, which is known for having like really good fried chicken, best fried chicken in Napa, everyone says. We tried that. It was quite good. We also had like a dinner there, a fixed menu dinner that was really good. It was like a nice blend of like fine dining, but also food that's accessible. Um, and then on our way home, I had my first glory hole experience.
Oh, your first. You always remember your first.
My first glory
Yeah.
hole.
Really
Yeah.
wet, huh?
It was wet. I guess the water was so high that it was like going into this hole. And I don't really know what the hole is for. It's some kind of man-made thing, clearly, but I don't. Maybe I'll look that up and I'll put in a picture in the pod
We're
of the
talking
glory
about
hole.
there's an actual like hole. It's in Lake Berryessa in Napa, and it's called a
Yes.
glory hole. We're not being dirty here.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for clarifying. I think that's my what's going on IRL, though I kind of cheated, did two things, but what about you? What do you got going on IRL?
Before I say that, I want to ask: are you guys, when it comes to wine, are you a red or a white kind of guy?
Judith, I'm not I'm not a snob and I like them both. I think I probably slightly prefer white. I also like, like rosés and champagnes and I don't think I have a favorite. I don't think I have I'm in touch enough with my taste, but Judith really likes Pinot Noirs. So she likes reds. She really liked one of the whites we tried. She really liked the apple cider we had. We got a few different things and learned a little bit. I, as my as we mentioned, I'm the film bro, wannabe film bro. So I got a bunch of movies that are kind of like wine themed or Napa themed that I want to watch.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, it was a fun weekend.
Have you seen Sideways
Sideways is the one with Giamatti,
with
Paul
Paul
Giamatti.
Giamatti? Yeah, it's
No,
not based in Napa. It's based in Solvang, but it is very much based around
uh,
wine. I think you'd like it a lot.
I
You
didn't
should
know it
look
was
for that.
based in Solvang. That was the
Mm-hmm.
first or second that got onto our list. I think it was the first.
Not really.
And then the second one is I'll just look it up real quick.
So
But it,
if
huh?
you ask me like name a movie that has to do with wine, my first guess would be
Yeah.
Sideways.
There's one that sounds. I'm pulling up my letterbox because I'm a wannabe film bro.
Nice
Um,
Casa Bonita. Is that a Casa Bonita hat, by the way?
yeah, Casa Bonita and Dead Mouse. It's like
And
my Red
take me
Rocks
back.
weekend.
Take me
Yeah,
back. I want to go back.
yeah, that was a blast. Maybe we should talk about that. It's too long ago though. So the movie I was gonna recommend or bring up that I really want to watch is called Bottle Shock,
Bottle Shock.
and yeah, um, it's basically about like a guy came to Napa and brought the wine back to France where they're super snobby about their wine. I'm making this super condensed because I've been talking a lot, but
Of course.
basically they did a blind taste test of like Napa California wine and French wine, and the French people, these wine snobs, picked the California one, and that's like I guess the origin story of like what originally put Napa on the map.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a documentary, or is it like it's a
No,
retelling?
it's a dramatized. It has Alan Rickman, the guy who played Snape,
All right,
and then
man.
it's got a real young Chris Pine
Oh, snap. Okay,
as like I think the young winemaker, I believe. But yeah, those were the two that first got recommended to us, so I'm excited to check those out.
that's really cool. Um, all right, interesting. What's going on IRL? I have to do my taxes this week,
Oof,
but that's not exciting.
I did them last
Um,
weekend.
so
You do your own?
I do my own. I started doing last year for the first time. I did so like the IRS has like a free tool where you can file your own
Not
taxes.
anymore.
Well, I was going to say this might be. I think you can still do it for this season, but
This year,
this
yeah.
might be the last one. And then
Uh-huh.
California has a similar like free tax system you can file. So I will probably do that again. It went fine enough, or it went well enough, I guess, last year. Although I did later get a letter in the mail from the state of California that I underpaid my taxes. So, but then I
Did you
called
get a
and
penalty for that?
well, they said there'd be a penalty on top of it. So, but then I called, and then because I always and I might be doing something wrong. I always get like a nice federal tax return, but I have always owed money on state taxes,
Oh,
always.
interesting.
Which like I must be doing something wrong, but whatever. But this year, so like I paid, but then they got the letter like weeks later, like, oh, you didn't pay enough. So I was like, what the hell? But then I called up, and the whoever I spoke to was very nice and basically like walked me through what that meant and that. Oh no, it wasn't that I didn't pay. It was that I was late on paying, so I was getting charged a late fee.
Oh,
But I was like, hey, like I did
interest.
this weeks in advance, and he was like, oh no, you're fine. Like let me take care of that. So he took care of it, and it ended up working out. But I will plan on doing it again this year and seeing how that goes. So I guess so. I am not working tomorrow, and
Oh,
because I got the day off, and I'm very excited for this. I'm going into the city, and this is why I'm was not available tomorrow. So I'm glad that this worked out. We're doing this when we are. I'm going to the city. So I have my friends, Vic and Amy, who run a burger. Now I can call it a
oh,
restaurant called Smish Mash. You are familiar with
Chef
them.
Vic,
You've
isn't
had
that what you call him?
Chef
Let's
Vic,
go.
and his partner Amy. They are two of the hardest working people I know. They opened this pop up called Smish Mash in May of 2020. Actually, not far from where I live now. I met
So
Vic
good.
at the food bank in Alameda. We were both volunteering in 2020 because we both had time on our hands, and I, just needed something to do. And he told me about his business. I've been following them ever since. They are so genuine, so kind, and so hardworking. And after 4+ years of just grinding their asses off. They signed a year lease at this food hall in San Francisco on Market Street. It's right next to the
Wow.
IKEA that's on Market Street. It's not associated with the IKEA, but the IKEA like cafe where you get your Swedish meatballs is on the second floor of this food hall. They're on the first floor, and they're just doing phenomenal. The exposure has been great, so much so that they are now doing what I believe to be their first live TV interview tomorrow, and it just so
Wow.
happens to be at the station that I used to work for in the city that I do not currently work
Oh.
for. But they reached out and was like, "You have to come. Like, we need you. Like, come help us out." Like, so I was like, "Okay." So I'm gonna go into the city tomorrow and help them. I'll
Wait,
essentially be like their
who
PR
the
person.
old your old workplace asked for help or Vic, Chef Vic asked for
Amy reached out to me and asked
Okay.
me to come. So I
Okay.
said, "I'll see if I can get it off." I didn't think I was gonna be able to get the day off, but I did. So I'm gonna
That's
go in tomorrow.
awesome.
So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. That's gonna be exciting. I'm just so happy for them because they have put in so much work into this, and now they're finally like Vic is now he's gotten to a point where he's been able to like hire some people and like take some time off himself, and he doesn't need to be there 7 days a week. And same goes for Amy. So just very very fulfilling and very satisfying. So
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram. I've been seeing a lot of like positive stuff lately. Like they're getting their big break, a lot of publicity, like
yep.
best smash burger in the Bay Area
Yep.
lists and stuff from like credible. Well, I don't know about credible,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah,
big
like the
pub.
Chronicle, yeah, San Francisco Chronicle wrote about them. Infatuation SF, which is like a big food blog on Instagram. The Standard, San Francisco Standard had something. So yeah, now that they're in the city, just the eyeballs alone have just their business has exploded. So I'm very happy for them, and I'm excited for tomorrow. I hope that goes
Yeah.
well. And then other than that, just been grinding at work, which has been going well. I am switching positions. I'm moving from a day side shift to a night side shift. So essentially,
Nice.
which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that and all the sort of new opportunities that'll bring. I just had my 1 year anniversary at the TV station I'm currently at, so just gonna keep Aw, thank you, thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind. So yeah, so we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, man, it's been so far so good.
Nice, dude. Glad to hear that. Excited for your I know you were excited for that and
Are you seeing this?
oh, it happens when you get older.
My, I'm falling apart here. It's not. It's. I noticed it's been like look at
You
that.
can
Like
tighten on the side, bro.
oh, you can
I think
tighten
so.
it. I'm
Yeah.
glad
Oh
I waited
yeah. You
until the
can
very
tighten
end
it.
of the episode to.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sorry. My apologies to anyone listening to this. Oh. Oh wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, dude.
Shit. Where's your microphone? Is it like in front of you?
It's in front of me. I guess because I have like my camera.
Is up higher.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't show up. I feel
Yeah.
like it did in the first few episodes. Like
Eh,
it would pop in somehow.
it's part of the look. We're going long, but I'll say for the next episode, I have to tell you about how podcasts have infiltrated my work and how
Oh
I
yeah.
will very shortly be producing another podcast that is for work.
Wow.
More
You
to come
started
on
to
that.
tell me about this, but I want to hear more
Yeah,
about it.
that's a tease. That's for the next episode.
Okay, let's go next time. Here, real quick before we go, can I do my Donald Trump impression?
I can't say no.
You know that clip? He got hit in the mic, and then he just kind of like he got.
I feel like I don't know
around.
where we were going with that. I don't know what direction you're.
I think it was more of like a. I can't really do it, but
Yeah.
you know. Anyways,
Yeah.
see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in, Cleaver.
We love you, Cleaver.
Anyone else who made it this far, and Chris, talk to you soon, man.
Cheers.